everyone, it's Justine and welcome to Just Like Me podcast. If you joined us last week, you heard me speak with Gilbert. We got into kind of a heavy conversation, just discussing our experiences as friends, him being a Hispanic person and me being Black, and just the things that happened as we created our friendship and the things on his end, stereotypes and kind of situations he was put in being friends with someone who was Black. This week, I wanted to kind of deep dive a little more into that, just talk about my personal experiences. It just started making me think a lot after the conversation with him, just how much things that I've gone through that maybe I slid under the rug or didn't talk about as much and didn't know how much it really affected me until now. Also, just wanting to talk some more about some things that happen or that are common in Black households for me and see if maybe you all can relate with those things. Gonna jump right into it. I think of a situation immediately. It happened in high school where I had a teacher. She was white. And I'm in a classroom filled with mostly Hispanic people, and there are some in there that are white. And there's 2 Black people, me being one of them, and then there's another female. And we are reading the Frederick Douglass biography. And in this book, because it's written, from him, it says the N-word quite a bit. It talks about it a lot. It just kind of is saying that word and in there throughout the book. Now, we had points where we were reading the book at home, and there was also points where we read it in class. And in this particular this situation, we're reading it out loud to each other in class. All of us is a big discussion. And my teacher, there's a point where the N-word is said. Someone else is reading the book. Someone says it. They kind of hesitate on it because all of us were a bit uneasy in a way to read the book out loud because it was so graphic and because of the things that it talked about within the book. So after this person says the word, this teacher immediately stops the class and calls me and says, "Now, how does that make you feel, Justine?" And I don't know what to say. For a moment, I'm like, why did she ask me this? And she asked again, how does this word make you feel? And she says the word now. Now, as y'all listened to last week, I am someone who does not appreciate other races saying that word. Yes, in this sense, it was historical, but in the way that she was using it, it didn't feel like that. It felt like more of like she was trying to embarrass me or put me out on spot. Instead of it being like a learning moment of like this word affecting my people in history and like asking the class overall how we felt like about it being in the book and all that, it wasn't that. Everyone's silent in the class and I'm just looking at her completely confused about why she asked me. Mind you, there's 2 of us in here. Not that I necessarily wanted her to pick on the other person, but me and her had confrontation before. So this felt like a personal attack. And I didn't say anything. I kind of just sat there for a moment looking at her very confused as to why I was asked this question. And then finally, I broke my silence and I told her it doesn't make me feel any type of way. Should I feel some type of way? Is there something that you're trying to tell me? And she immediately tried to hurry away from it. And, oh, no, like I was just asking, like maybe it made you feel some type of way or it affected you in some form. But I don't know why she would have thought that. I don't know what I was projecting or what would make her think that. And the way that she was talking to me about it, it just like a little smirk on her face as if it was cool to have done that. It made me think, if we're reading a book about maybe other races or maybe someone in the LGBTQ community and a slur is said, then are you going to call out somebody who you know is an advocate or know someone a part of that community and put them on spot and ask them about it? Now, in that moment, it did affect me, and it made me feel more embarrassed, like I stated before, that she asked me in front of everyone, expecting an answer, like a real answer from me. And we all kind of just sat there kind of in silence until the class was over. Now, looking back on it, I definitely should have said something to someone about that. I definitely should have told her that I didn't appreciate her bringing it up like that, or putting me on spot like that, or continuing to say the word. I was shocked. I was stunned that had happened. Like, yes, we were reading the book, and I knew that it was going to come with like the territory of, yes, it's in there, so it's going to be said. But I feel like she was trying to prove a point. And that's where I feel I should have said something to someone. I should have been an advocate for myself and said, this is not cool. And if she reads this book in every class or every semester or every year, is she doing this to other children? Is she doing this to other kids who are like me, not saying anything, or kind of like not trying to seem like we're affected by it? It's crazy to me how, one, she felt so empowered in that moment. But you being my teacher, you should know that that's not a boundary or a place that should be gone to or taken to. Also, it made me feel a type of way because when we first started reading the book, she mentioned that her family used to own slaves. She was very proud of the fact that her family owned other human beings. So that made me feel already uneasy and uncomfortable around her. Why would you say that? For me, it's like we're in the 21st century here. Why did you think that was okay to say? Why did you think that was a point that was okay to say? And I feel like there's been lots of experiences that I've had in my life. That's just one, but where maybe an adult or a teacher or a significant figure made kind of a shady comment or a slick comment or just a very disrespectful or distasteful comment that had to do with being Black or the Black community or saying the N-word. And I guess people, especially teachers, who are put in positions to lead and guide the young minds, I think that there are times they use that for bad. Or it's just a paycheck, so they don't really care what they say or what happens after the fact. It's just like, well, it happened, it is what it is. They feel untouchable. And I think that because I didn't say anything and I didn't stick up for myself and I didn't tell anyone after that, she still felt like that was okay. Now, for the rest of the year, I looked at her differently. I felt some sort of way towards her and never tried to create any bond or any relationship towards her. But then it was also like a joke. Everyone was quiet in that moment, but after we left the class, they went to go tell other kids and other people and joking around about it. And just, kids are mean sometimes. And not that they were in my face calling me it, but I knew that the conversation was happening. I would hear people who weren't even in the class coming up to ask or just passing by and them talking about it. It was an embarrassing feeling. A feeling that they wouldn't understand. Although there are slurs and there are negative statements or comments that can be said towards other races and ethnicities, they're not usually used. And because the school that I was at was predominantly Hispanic, there were Black people, but there was more Hispanics, the slurs weren't being used. They were being used towards the Black people. It created an uncomfortable situation the entire school year. And in a way, again, I was embarrassed, but it made me feel ashamed, like there was something I should be ashamed about. I didn't know any better, and I was young. I was 14, still trying to learn myself and come into my own. But it definitely was a moment where it made me realize that white people feel entitled. They do. I've been many places where a white person thinks that the world revolves around them, or they should just be able to cut in line or say what they want to say or act a certain way just because they're white. They have this sense of like uppityness, like I can do whatever I want without any consequence. And it's shown in a way time and time again with the whole like Karen trend or fad or videos. They're white women who essentially are going to pick a fight. They're going out intentionally being ugly to these people because they're black. Calling the cops on them because they're black. Trying to fight or harass them because they're black. And feeling like they have every right to because they're white. It's crazy to me, and I'll continue to say it. We are in the 21st century. All these years, all this stuff that my people had to endure to like be where we are now, yet we're still fighting the same battle. It's not in the same exact context, but it is essentially the same battle. We are not seen as equal. We are not seen or treated like we are human. And it's not everyone. And it's not all white people. However, that inequality still exists. Again, going back to that Karen thing. I mean, there's endless and countless videos of just someone could be... I seen a video where this kid was mowing the lawn and a Karen, that's right, they're calling them a Karen, came and was like harassing the kid. Well, you're trying to break into their house and you're trying to steal these people's stuff. Like, I know them and you don't belong here. And it was a predominantly white neighborhood and he stuck out like a sore thumb and she's ready to call the cops. I've seen firsthand, again, being in a store and a white woman or a white person trying to, like I said, cut in line or fit their way into the line or into the aisle with no manners or no nothing to say or like turning their heads or rushing past someone who's black. Yet if it was a white person, you can see how at ease they feel. You can see how natural they feel around people who are not black. I struggled a lot for a long time because I'm biracial. I was too light for the black people and too dark for the Hispanic people. Now, I identify as a black woman. My birth certificate says African American. My driver's license says African American. Like, I am black. If you look at me and you see my skin tone, you're black. I always say it. If I get stopped by the cop's going to say I'm black. Because I am. People can say they don't judge, they don't see color, but you have to see color. I am my color, but that's not all I am. I am somebody who is black. But just because I'm black, that doesn't make me a criminal. Or that doesn't make me a dropout. Or doesn't mean like I'm a lazy and I'm a killer and I'm just a vigilante out here. But I also am black. And there's things and stigmas and stereotypes that come with that. So I feel like you have to recognize that. And that's kind of what me and Gilbert touched on in the last episode of just because things are done doesn't make them right. Just because things are said doesn't make it right. Being biracial, it really opened my eyes quickly to how ugly the human race can be. Going to schools or doing extracurricular activities and I'm kind of the only black person in the room, that makes an effect on you. There was a point in time where I felt whitewashed. I felt like I was trying to turn myself into someone who was white. I mean, friends who were white or Hispanic, so I'm trying to dress like them. My hair is curly, but I want to straighten it all the time. Trying to convince my parents to get me the latest fashions or whatever is out there that I'm seeing these white kids with, because I feel like if I'm not dressed like them and I don't look like them, then something's wrong with me. And that's not true. It's not true at all. And I feel like for my parents' sake, I knew that I was black. I grew up with my black side of my family predominantly. And yet I still felt like there wasn't always a place for me. I always felt like I'm just a little bit different. My cousin jokes now, oh, well, you have good hair. You don't have to worry about getting your hair done. Oh, you have that good stuff. Like your skin's light. Like you don't have to worry about nobody looking at you a certain way. And that's not true. In a way it is, yes. There are some people who might feel less threatened to see a lighter skinned black person, but I'm still black. Yes, I might be able to wake up and do my hair in a shorter amount of time than you, but that doesn't make it any less coarse or any less curly or nappy or black than yours. A lot of things have shaped me and turned me into the person that I am today. I stand highly on the values of black people and black culture. I believe that we are the moment. We are what is next and upcoming. And it always feels like people don't want to give us our credit. They want to take from us, but not give us any credit. A lot of conversations surrounding black people can go south very quickly. Mostly, I think, because some people don't want to believe that they have a bias against black people. Some people don't want to believe that, like, well, they say they don't have a problem with black people, yet they don't associate with anyone who's black. They don't actually have genuine friends who are black. I mean, I had a lot of friends or associates that I felt like we were close, but they would never come to my house. I remember growing up, I could never do birthday parties or Christmas parties or any type of party at my house because, according to my friends, I lived in the hood. And their families, I lived in the hood. I lived in the ghetto. So, nope, can't go to Justine's house because you're going to get shot. Nope, they're going to steal your stuff. Nope, you're going to do drugs over there. When I lived in a pretty good neighborhood, 2-parent household, like my house was secure. I wasn't getting chased by dogs in the streets and they weren't selling drugs on my front porch. Like it was just like an American household. Had we not been black, they probably would have just let them come over. I threw one birthday party at my house and I only had one friend come. One friend whose parent was okay with them coming to my side of town to come to a birthday party, and that really affected me. Another point where I felt, people can be ugly. And even at that, yes, that friend came, but their mom sat in the car and just waited the whole birthday party. Instead of getting out and socializing or dropping off and coming back, they sat in the car the whole time just like staring us down as if something was going to happen at a birthday party. And not that things don't happen, but I mean, I was probably 12 or 13, 11 maybe. We have cake, we have games, we're playing outside, like we're being children. Yet I still felt like even though my friend came, the mom was sitting back judging. Sitting back, not really sure if this is the place they should have brought their child. It's always going to be hard for black people. And I want to finish with this. It's always going to be hard for us. For me, it feels like we are in a race that was never meant for us to run in. We are in a race that was built for the white man by the white man. Our founding fathers, our first ever rights, not ours, but white people, was built by white people for white people, specifically men. Then the white women, and then later on down the line, black people. And it took a while. The country was set up for white people. And still, those same words that were created all those years ago still stand today. And I feel like that is how society sees us, like we are less than. There was a point we weren't even counted as a human. And then we were less than a human. It's crazy to think that someone could own another person simply because they're black. Simply because the color of their skin, the tone of their skin is darker. The pigment of their skin is darker. Then that meant you can own me. I'm not an animal. I'm not a toy. I'm not entertainment. I'm a human. And my ancestors were human. Born into slavery. I mentioned on an episode before, my grandma was born on a plantation. Again, not active, but to see her birth certificate and it says the name of the plantation, that really made me feel like that wasn't too far ago. That wasn't too long ago that this place still exists. If we went there now, it's still in the same condition it was left. Now it's all run down. But you can see where the slaves were kept, and you can see where the plantation owner, the master of the house where they lived. It's crazy to think that another human being could own a human being and can hate a human being. I think that is what it makes it even worse. To still to this day hate another person because of their color of their skin. Now, I do feel like times are changing. Maybe they're not changing fast enough. Maybe not in the right direction for some people. Now, are there more younger people who feel like that wasn't right and it's not, and let's make a change and let's make a difference? Yes. But there is still a bunch of old white men who run a lot of things. Who with the snap of a finger can make things happen. And I feel like until we get some more diversity and color and equality out into the world, we're going to be doomed. We're going to be running in the same circle forever. Change has to happen. If not, black people will continue to die, continue to be mistreated, continue to be judged, continue to be looked down upon. Change has to happen. I didn't mean for this one to turn into another heavy kind of talk here. But I felt like I needed to get that off my shoulder. I felt like I needed to talk about those things. Like I said, I never knew how much that stuff affected me or how much situations affected me until I was older. Until I was like, well, why do I look at people a certain way? Why do I have a certain stigma about someone? And it all was rooted back to experiences that I had, comments that were made, things that were said, situations that had me questioning my identity and the person that I was and just my skin tone overall. It wasn't fair for that teacher to call me out. It wasn't fair for that teacher to make me feel belittled, to feel embarrassed, to feel ashamed of just living my life and being black. I didn't choose it. I was born black. Now, I wouldn't trade it, but it's not like I came out the womb and picked a color. It wasn't right for her to do that. And I'm upset at myself for not saying anything sooner or not saying anything in that moment. I believe change has to happen. I believe it starts with me. And after I realized that, I never let anyone disrespect me. Specifically because of my color. I refuse to let people see me as less than them because of my color. I work twice as hard as a lot of people. I pull my weight. I'm just as smart. just as talented. Change has to happen. On the next episode, I want to talk more about that change. I want to talk about Black history, where we were, where we've come from, and see what we can look forward to in the future. Just talk about and discuss what could happen. Hope y'all join me next week. See you then.